All right. Good evening, everybody. I hope that you've had a wonderful day. I'll be honest, I looked outside and I saw the sunshine. I didn't go out there in it, but I did notice it was shining today. And I hope that you were able to get out and enjoy it. Me and my best friend, my foot, we had it again with each other. So I'm kind of hobbling a little bit today. So I didn't get around too much. But I'm so glad that if you were able to get out there, I hope you enjoyed it. This has been a whirlwind of weather. We had snow, we had a little bit of ice, we had a whole bunch of rain, and then the other day we had tornado watches out. So today we had sunshine, and if you stick around tomorrow, it'll be something else. Because guess what? This is Arkansas, and this is just how our weather rolls. So if you're not liking what happened one day, if you stay here long enough, you'll get another season the next day. So don't worry about it. For you that don't know, this is the Lady Sound. My name is Wanda Lowe. I'm your host. We have been on the air now for almost 3 years. June of this year will be 3 years. We started off at
Wow.
KJBN Radio in a 30-minute show, and we did that for a little bit over a year, and then we've been online since COVID hit. So we've been online since since last March. We started doing this live on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you have not already liked our pages, go over and like our page on Facebook, and it's the Ladies Lounge Wonderlow. And you can also find us on YouTube under that same name. Under that same name, make sure that you click on the little bell so that you get the notifications when a new videos post, and that way you can watch and see what we're doing every week. I am working on some things to make this a whole lot better and a whole lot more interesting, and bring some new topics and talk about some new stuff and kind of shock you a little bit. I've never been the shocking kind of person, and I've never been the explicit kind of person, but I kind of feel like y'all are ready for that. And I'm kind of ready for it too. So make sure that you stay tuned in every week. We're on at 7 p.m. every Tuesday evening. Unless something happens and me and my foot or whatever the case is cannot hobble here to the desk. But otherwise, every Tuesday evening we're here, and we have always have great guests to give us great information, to share their knowledge with us, and we are appreciative of that. So let's see. Don't have a whole lot of housekeeping other than just like the page, and thank you for those who have followed and who have liked. Make sure you check us out on Instagram. I'm really trying to get a little bit more involved on posting on Instagram and sharing information with you. So make sure that if you check us out on Facebook, that you also check us out on Instagram. And again, the name is the Lady Sound with Wonder Low. So you can find us on all three pages under the same name. So I want to make sure that we have ample time to discuss this topic tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and do my intros for my guests, and I'm going to give them a little opportunity to tell you a little bit more about themselves. And then we're going to get into our discussion, because tonight, this being March is Women's History Month. So let me talk about that for a second. I forgot about that. March is Women's History Month, just in case y'all didn't know. Now we're coming into this off the heels of Black History Month, of course, and we're going to celebrate women from all over the world who've done wonderful things, who have paved the way and are paving the way for us to live great lives and to do great things also. So we want to make sure that whether you have been recognized, you are known to be world famous or not, or you're famous in your own capacity or in your town, if you know a woman who is making a difference in the community, and it does not matter how big or how small, please, ma'am, please, sir, when you see her, shake her hand, pat her on the back, give her a hug, congratulate her, and thank that woman for whatever it is she's doing to make our world better. I think that we don't spend enough time appreciating people. We don't spend enough time saying thank you. And we don't spend enough time recognizing everybody. All of us are not going to be world famous, but some of us are famous in our own rights, in our own communities, and nobody knows it. So if you know of those women and you want to hear from them, hey, shoot me a name. Send it to my email, and it's the ladies now 1050 at gmail.com. I love to have them on as guests, to have, to hear their story, let them share their experiences with everyone. Because guess what? No matter how big or small that achievement is being, it can inspire someone else to do something bigger and better. And that's what we want. We want to always be an inspiration to the next woman or the next girl, because we have a lot of women that are coming up and a lot of young girls under us who need to see us doing something. So if you know a woman who is out there and she is tearing it up, however she's tearing it up, let us know about it. Send me an email so we can get in contact with her and have on the show. And she can share her experiences and enlighten and broaden all of our horizons. So we can all congratulate her, we can all thank her, and we can all celebrate her achievements in the world. So, having said that, now these two ladies I have tonight are awesome women. And thank you for being here. And when you see them, shake their hand. Now, you know what? Don't shake these folks' hand. Y'all forget that. Don't shake nobody's hand. That COVID running wild. Don't be shaking folks' hand. Forget that part. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I normally remember that. Well, don't do that. Keep your distance. Wave at them. Tell them good job and thank you. Please don't shake their hand, y'all. We don't want nobody getting sick. And I don't want y'all to come back to my wonder say it touched you. So I took it back. Don't touch nobody. Just if you see them, wave at them, say thank you, give them a high five, whatever, thumbs up, do something, but don't touch them. But tell them thank you, tell them they're doing a great job. So let me first read her bio for Miss Sarah Rudolph Pollard, and I have to say her whole name. Rudolph Pollard. And let me put my eyeglasses on because y'all also know I can't see half the time. So let's see. As the youngest of three children, Sarah grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, where she received her primary and secondary education. Sarah earned an Associate of Art degree in General Studies from Jefferson Community College in 1987. At the University of Louisville, Sarah earned a bachelor's degree in Justice Administration in 2004, and in 2007, she earned a master's degree in Justice Administration. In May 2019, Sarah received her Master of Arts in Social Justice from Phillips Theological Seminary. Stay out of school, girl.
I'm in school now.
Look, I'm talking and I'm ready to go back. Sarah is a member of Alpha Phi Sigma National Criminal Justice Honor Society and the Golden Key International Honor Society. In 2007, Deborah G. Keelan, PhD, the former Justice Administration Department Chair of the University of Louisville, nominated Sarah as a Presidential Fellow. Sarah has worked in the family violence and social services arena for 27 years. She is currently the Domestic Violence Project Coordinator at Arkansas Commission on Child Abuse, Rape, and Domestic Violence. Sarah is the founder and president of a diversity, equity, and inclusion training evaluating firm, S.E. Pollard Consulting. Sarah is also a commissioned minister with Mount Sinai Christian Church in North Little Rock, Arkansas. Woo! Sit down somewhere. That's a lot. Look, I think I'd be busy. I ain't did enough. I'm gonna need to up my game some.
You're not as old as me, so.
Well, thank you, girl.
So you got to catch up. You got some time.
I got some time. All right, let me introduce Miss Haley Baca. Haley Baca is a graduate of Harding University, where she received a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Oh, you criminal justice people. Criminal justice with minors in psychology and Bible and ministry. Oh my God. At Harding, Ms. Baca was a member of anti-human trafficking organization on campus, where she served as president for 2 years. While president, she led students become advocates by educating them through panel discussions, volunteer opportunities, and personal experiences. Ms. Baca also expanded her education by attending another school specific to human trafficking in Padua. That's that right? Pattaya. Okay, Thailand. Also known as the sex tourism capital of the world. Wow. In Thailand, she built relationships with women that were located in the bars and brothels of the red light district. She also worked with child survivors of sexual exploitation and trafficking. She has gained valuable skills to mentor and serve victims and survivors through her education, hands-on experience, and passion for social injustice. Ms. Baca has served with PATH since 2016, assisting on the helpline, serving on the crisis response team, and volunteering at community fundraising and education events. Upon graduation, she joined the PATH team as the community education coordinator. She actively works to bring education and awareness to others about the reality of this nefarious crime. She also walks alongside the survivors as they reintegrate into a new, healthy lifestyle full of hope and healing. Oh my God, y'all are just wonderful. Oh my goodness. I mean, really, y'all are just wonderful. Oh my goodness. I feel honored. Got some special women tonight. Y'all are awesome. But I'm gonna tell you, this is odd that both of y'all are criminal justice majors and both of y'all have degrees in ministry. That is interesting. That
That
is
is.
interesting.
See how things work out?
That's the Lord. I love it. I love it.
Well, and if Sonia was here, she is also criminal justice. That's her undergrad. So.
Well, okay. I feel all out of place in my little health education stuff.
Mm-mm. See, you can spend that too. You can spend that.
I can
into
spend
this
that.
arena.
Look, lady,
Mhm.
I'm already trying to figure out a PhD program. Stop. But thank you and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have both of y'all here. We were talking earlier before we got on, everybody, about how today has gone. We went from having 4 guests to 3 guests to 2 guests and then switching out of guests at the last minute because things just happen and life happens. And these ladies are busy. And I know that they were wanting to be on tonight. But again, things happen and we pray for them and keep it moving. But thank you so much for both of you all being here. Let me give you all a chance to kind of give some more information about yourself if you like. And I don't, whichever one of y'all want to go first is fine with me.
Go ahead, Haley.
Sorry, you guys cut out for a split second, so I don't even know. Am I introducing myself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I can do that. So as you read my bio earlier, I've been with PATH since April of last year, but I am the community education coordinator. So PATH stands for Partners Against Trafficking Humans. We're located in North Little Rock, Arkansas, but we do reach our goal is to reach the entire state and surrounding states. So we'll do education to whoever calls us. If they call, we'll go essentially. So I can go into a little more about PATH if you'd like me to and what we do there. Yeah, so at PATH, we don't currently have a safe house. We did several years ago, but we have since closed it. So we do have a day program now, and it's a 3-fold program. So the first part of the day program is life skills. So the girls can come in during the day and attend life skills classes so they can learn how to cook, how to finance, how to budget, because a lot of them don't know how to live the normal life the way we would. So those are the basic life skills that they need. If there's something that we may see that they need or something that they want to know about, we're going to find a volunteer or we'll teach it ourselves. So right now, the girls attend classes on Monday and Thursday during the day program. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, they're in the work program. So they can receive pay to do work and just learn how to make a paycheck. What do you do with that money once you get it? And how do you not turn a trick every time that something gets hard? And so just teaching them new life skills. So that's the first part of the day program. The second part is therapeutic, which honestly is probably the first main priority that we have for every client that comes into our program is therapy. It's so hard for a survivor of trafficking or sexual abuse to move on in life if they haven't addressed the trauma that they've experienced. So as soon as they come into the program, we make it a huge priority and goal to get them a trauma informed therapist, whether that's on staff or contract therapy. And then the third part of the day program is fun. So if they want to learn how to milk a cow, we're going to go milk a cow. Whatever they have, that's their chance to get creative and allow their just creative energy to flow. So whatever they want to do, we will meet their needs. So that could look like a few of us taking them on a hike, or all the moms going up to hot springs for a girls' day out and having massages and lunch. So life skills, therapy, and fun is the 3-fold program of our day program.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, Miss Sarah.
Well, I am, like you read in my bio, I currently work for the Arkansas Commission on Child Abuse, Rape, and Domestic Violence, where I am the Domestic Violence Project Coordinator. And in that role, I provide whatever services that other agencies would need a partner on. Our goal mission is to enhance the other agencies so that they can provide their services. And mainly we do that through, well, if somebody wants to come out for training, or any of us to come out for training, we will do that.
Mhm.
And that's a small piece of what we do. But a large piece is providing grant funding. Like right now, well, this year I'll have two RFPs, RFP and an RFQ, request for qualifications and request for proposal, that will go out to the shelters,
Mhm.
domestic violence shelters in the state. And those are the shelters that fall under or meet the standards of the Arkansas Coalition Against Domestic Violence. So I'm in the process of writing that, and then I just administer those grants for those shelters so that they can provide, the direct one-on-one services. We don't do one-on-one services. So that basically at the commission, we just want to enhance any organization statewide with, to provide their services, how we can work with them and partner with them to do that.
Okay. Well, see, both of you all have some very interesting things that you do. So let's kind of get into the topic. The discussion tonight is on how safe are we? And I wanted to do this, of course, like we said earlier, March is Women's History Month, but I also want to focus on something not necessarily historical, but it involves women. It involves all of us, because if we're not safe, nobody's safe. But talk about some of the things that you all see around domestic violence and some of the things that you see around trafficking, and how those things affect the women of Arkansas and surrounding areas. And I try not to keep everything general to Arkansas, but that's where we are. So I kind of go back to that sometimes. But let's kind of get into some things about what you see happening in trafficking right now. What are some of the, I don't want to say new trends, but what are some of the things that you see happening right now in the trafficking world?
Yeah, so I'll kind of speak a little bit on COVID and how the pandemic has affected trafficking, especially in our state.
Mm-hmm.
So at PATH, we have a 24/7 national helpline, so it can be reached at any time of the day. And we noticed that once the pandemic hit and quarantine happened, our calls got drastically lower.
Mm-hmm.
And for a minute, we couldn't understand why the calls just got so much lower than they usually were. And then once we started to realize that quarantine put everybody in isolation. So they got taken away from their safe places, whether that's school or work or wherever it is. So
Mm-hmm.
now they may be isolated with their abuser, with their parent, that's their perpetrator. And so we noticed that during quarantine, during the pandemic, a lot of our calls, we weren't getting as many as we used to because of being in isolation. And so once the world kind of started to open back up a little and people were allowed to go out and do more, that's when our calls slowly started to pick up again. So I feel like that is just a testament to how much it does happen at home and within the home.
Now that's interesting, because I think and I tell people all the time, I read so much, I never remember where I read stuff. I just read. But I was reading somewhere earlier, and I think this was last year, we were having a conversation about how much things increased during COVID. That even though we are in the house, domestic violence reports went up, suicides went up, child neglect and abuse went up. All kinds of things go up during COVID, because now everybody's in one place, and I get that it's harder for people to report things, because if you're in the house with a person that's abusing you, getting on the computer and trying to look up a domestic violence shelter or trying to get help is going to be difficult, because they're watching you. They're also on your phone, so you don't have access. So that actually makes a lot of sense, but that just also shows you that you're not safe at home.
Mm-hmm.
That, a lot of people are not safe at home. Sarah, what do you see happening with domestic violence?
The last information that I read, Wanda, was in line with what you just talked about, not being safe at home. We know that the numbers went up simply because people are closed in, in close proximity, but the calls went down. And for those reasons that you mentioned, is that victims, aren't able to, reach out and call for help, or, reach out to a shelter or to the national hotline or state hotline, or what have you. And I haven't read anything, since, things are starting to open back up some, especially now that we have the vaccines, and people are getting the vaccines and, starting to come out and stuff. Haven't seen any statistics yet on how that's playing in with domestic violence.
Wow.
So, and we have said in the field for years, most victims, you lock yourself in at night with your abuser. So just imagine, from last year up until now, that you're only going out, or a lot of people only went out when it was absolutely necessary. So in the house with their abuser way more than they normally would have been.
Wow.
And the same thing for children, with the child abuse piece and all of that.
I'll be interested to see what things look like now, since the vaccine has come about, since we had our drop in numbers in this last couple of weeks, because everybody was in the house due to the snow and for other reasons. I'll be interested to see what the numbers will look like in maybe another month or two, or even by the beginning of summer. Because more people get vaccinated. They're talking about lifting the bans on our mask wearing and opening restaurants back at 100% capacity, which incidentally I would not be going. I'm so sorry, but I'll be still that woman said no to trying to eat with a mask on, because I don't trust that. Common sense tells you, of course, the numbers went down. We were all in the house. It was snowing, So, of course the numbers went down. But like you said, of course, the other side of it was numbers going up on abuse. So I would be interested to see what those numbers are going to look like as things open back up and more people are getting back out. Jump a little bit, and this is for both of y'all, and maybe talk about we're going to hit the child abuse side of it, because I read a little article the other day and it really broke my heart. It wasn't about child abuse, but this young lady, this little girl, admitted during her Zoom call that she's starving because you have kids that are not being able to go to school. They're not getting that one meal that they, used to get a day. And you have kids that are at home starving. In those conditions, you don't want to always say that because somebody is going through one situation at home that it leads to abuse. But well as I do, it makes it a better chance of it happening. So kind of talk about what you see, when there's kids involved with the trafficking side and with the abuse side.
Well, as on the abuse side, and I read that same article as well, Wonder, and it was truly, truly heartbreaking for that child to have to say that. So the situation had to be horrible for her to just break down like that in front of her class. But as far as the child abuse, and I'm not in our child abuse, specifically in child abuse unit, and I really don't follow those numbers. But I would say that abuse is abuse, and when you're in the house with your abuser, whether you're a child or an adult, you're going to have higher numbers. And then when you think about the children and this whole thing, with the COVID, they have to, a lot of the kids are doing school on their laptops and all that kind of stuff. Then all of those things just compound, on top of each other. You're trying to learn, and I don't know, maybe the child has, they learn differently, and any kind of thing that's going to set that abuser off. Well, then the parent, one of the parents may get abused because the child can't get this right or the other, and you got those tensions, building. So, and all of that, it sounds like pieces here and there, but when you put all of that together, it could be detrimental for, the victim and including the children as victims.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been hard.
Mhm. Haley, what do you see on the trafficking side?
Yeah, so I kind of just want to, before I get into it, kind of break down what trafficking is, because I think a lot of people don't always understand what that is.
Mhm.
So it is the exchange of sex for something of value, for profit. So when I say that, it doesn't have to be money. And the reason I'm bringing this up now is because a child could be trafficked in their home and no money may never be exchanged if their perpetrator in their home is withholding food from them. And this is what it made me think of when you guys were talking about that case that you had read.
Mhm.
If somebody is withholding food from them and only allowing them to have it through sexual means, that is a form of sex trafficking. So it can happen other ways like that. Trafficking is very relational and it happens to be very familial. So I'll kind of, this isn't as related to child abuse, but I can talk a little more about trafficking with kids. But according to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, they said 1 in 5 reported endangered runaways were likely sex trafficking victims, and that 75% of those were in DHS custody at the time that they ran away. Wow. So it is very likely for someone who ran away to be picked up by a trafficker within 24 hours of leaving. And so when somebody is promising them a roof, food, clothing, and their home situation is that bad where they don't know where else to go, it seems appealing. And so we see that a lot in our youth and a lot of the kids. And just for an example, I know since we're talking about how safe are we, I do presentations to students all the time, and I always ask them the question through our audience response system, so it's completely anonymous. And one of the questions I ask is, have you ever felt unsafe at home? And I believe the last time I did it, 80% of the students said no, or said yes, that they have had a time where they didn't feel safe. So that was here in Little Rock. So it certainly, I mean, it just goes to show you, and I know we've said it earlier, but we're not always safe in our own home.
Now that makes me think about, since we're talking about it happening in the home, and we're talking about kids being at home during COVID, and now having to deal with being online a whole lot more, how safe are we even online? Because now more than ever, if I can't get to you physically, and I can get to you online. And, I don't think there's a kid, or at this point, any adult now that's not spending at least an hour to a day, if not more, on some type of social media site or some kind of gaming site, or even if it's school. How safe are we online? Because now the predators can get to you on your laptop or on your phone. So kind of talk about, if there's some things that you can share with us about that. Talk about that a little bit, Heather.
Yeah, so this is actually what I always talk to with the kids, and I always tell them anybody can be whoever they want online. And so I think it comes down to having important conversations, and Sonia and I will always share this with parents, but as a parent, it's our job to be nosy, and sometimes parents just want to be their best friend, but that's not our place. It's our job to ask the important questions, to be observant, because kids know technology way better than we do. I guarantee they know all of the apps and all of the news things that are coming out before we ever do. And so it's important for us to stay up to date on what's out there. I mean, at this point, there are apps created to look like a calculator, so you can click on it and it wipes away whatever, it hides whatever you were looking up. So even the most diligent of parents may not even know what's the newest thing. So as adults, I would say, asking the important questions, not having, having parental controls on their phone, understanding that there is a privacy browser on iPhones, and I'm sure on Androids as well, and to turn that off. I know when I was younger in middle school, I would always use the privacy browser just because it wouldn't keep my search history, which is so, even though it is somewhere, but parents need to understand that those things need to be turned off. And I think having more educated conversations with kids, knowing their privacy settings on their social media. I know so many students have everything on public because they want all the likes and they want everybody to be able to see them, but they could have a perpetrator following them for the last 3 years. They saw where they went to high school, when they graduated, where they moved to, what new job they got. And that person may show up one day and they have no idea who they are, but it's because they allowed that opportunity for them to just publicly be seen by anyone. So in short, my answer is always going to be, we need to educate more.
Yeah. But I think that one applies to adults as well as children, because I think I get these weird, and I'm pretty sure everybody does, get these little weird friend requests. And it's people you've never heard of. And since I'm something like an investigative reporter, okay, that's a nice way of me saying I'm really nosy. I will approach you. I'm looking at your page because you get these weird. The first of all, the name is strange.
Yeah.
Second of all, you can tell that it's a stock photo. Third, I get to your page, you have absolutely no posts. You have no friends. I don't know you. You don't know me. And I see people that'll go, oh, I just accept friend requests from everybody. No. Because I don't know what you're up to. And I can't really see you, and I don't really know you. And if you look at my friends list, the majority of people that are my friends on Facebook or on any social media, either we are family members, we've done business together, I know you, or I may know you through someone else, but I know that you're a safe person.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not accepting because I don't know you. So I think that sometimes, even as adults, we get into this thing of thinking because we're adults, we're safe. I'm a grown woman. Nobody's going to try anything with me, but yeah, they will.
Yeah. I don't get so many weird friend requests. And it may be because I have every privacy setting that you can have. I don't do Instagram. I don't do Twitter. And really the only thing I do is Facebook. And like you were saying, Wonder, most of the people that I have on my friends list are family, people that I've known, friends all my life, or like friends I've met through you, or somebody and that kind of thing. I don't have, and if I do, it's very, very few people that I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay? And then from the outside, I have, my page is private, and you can't. I don't even think you can search me by email address, or maybe if you know my name, you can search me. If I don't know you, I ask people, and how do we know each other?
You nicer than I am. I don't even ask that. I just go no, block, or delete. I don't even do that because I don't want to have any conversation. And I've noticed more and more that you're getting these weird messages through Messenger and weird text messages. For a long time, my number was my business number. So I get these weird text messages sometimes, which I know not to click on those because some of those things are tracking, they can track where you are or get locations found. I'm going, okay, delete. I don't know who this is. This doesn't make sense. I don't read them. I don't open anything. I just immediately delete them. So, like I said, again, we don't look at things from necessarily a danger point of view because, again, we go, well, we grown. Who's going to mess with us? Nobody's going to mess. I'm a grown woman, blah, blah, blah. And the same tricks that work on kids, guess what, work on adults.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is it sounds like all three of us are kind of the same when it comes to our social media and always stalking everybody to check them out and make sure they're normal. But that's from the three of us that are in this type of world. But for the victims and survivors that I see on a daily basis, they're in such a state of chaos and trauma mode that they don't have that same thought process of let me check this out. And so I taught an internet safety class with some of our survivors at the time. And one of them asked, well, is it all right to have my social security number as my password? And so it's just one of those things that you have to understand that things that we know and take for granted is valuable knowledge to them. It's stuff that they would never consider, because I believe her perpetrator at the time knew her passcode to her phone, which was the last 4 digits of her social. So I think it's important for us as friends of people to, again, ask the important questions. And when somebody is saying, oh, I found this modeling job on Facebook, we need to ask about that. That's huge. That is a huge part of the coercion and the fraud aspect of trafficking. And so I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's not my business, I'm not going to get into it. But to keep each other safe, we need to get into it.
Yeah. I am a firm believer of being nosy.
Oh, amen.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's how you you realize certain things. And as I was listening to you all's comment, I started in the field working for Louisville Metro Police Department. So I'm always aware of, of this, that, and the other. And I you were speaking to having the mindset of, oh, I'm an adult. And I think having come into the field and coming up through that perspective and was the advocate for the felony domestic violence sexual assault unit at the police department, I'm probably way on that other end, on the other end of the spectrum to probably like borderline paranoia or something, because I'm always, looking and okay, now who's this? What is this? What is this? Now I think they kind of jaded me at the police department.
But it made you more aware.
Yeah. And I'm always looking, like about, okay, why aren't these street lights on, or light and it's dark? It's like, it's a little dark right here. They need some light. That's just the way I think. So,
well, I know that I'm one of those people. Again, my chronic nosiness. Some years ago, this is when my kids were small. I don't know. I don't remember what exactly made me start thinking like this. But do y'all remember when you used to get those little mailers, and they had a little card and it had the missing kids on it? And at that time, all 4 of my kids were elementary age, and I had 1 in junior high school and 3 in elementary school. And I don't remember how we got on the subject, but I started looking at where the sex offenders were in the neighborhood. And I started collecting those little cards, because in my head, if I ever saw one of these kids, I want to make sure that I can identify them and help them, or whatever the case was. Plus the fact I wanted to make sure my kids never ended up on one of those cards. And going to pick up the 2 middle kids, the 2 boys, one day from school. My youngest daughter was in the car with me, and we're behind this guy that's driving real slow on the side of the street. And at the time, the kids we lived in Southwest Little Rock, so the kids coming out of Cloverdale were walking home from school. And the group of girls that were walking together, he didn't bother. But there happened to be this one little girl walking in between. Like, one group was in front of her, and it was a big space, and then her, and then there's a big space again, and then some other kids. And that's the child he chose to target. And he slows down, and of course, trying to get in the car, and he's talking to her, and I'm behind him. Now, I drove a red minivan back then, and I'm realizing what he's doing, and I'm on the horn, like, get away from the car. I'm blowing my horn. I roll down my window. I'm yelling at this child because she is about to get in this car. And I'm like, no. Just so happened he was actually, this is so weird. I go to the school, I do what I'm doing, I go into them, pick the kids up, I get back home, I'm still kind of shaking up. I wrote down the tag number, I knew what the car looked like, I know what direction he went. Okay, I'm something like Nancy Drew, so of course I had to go investigate. So I literally chased the car down the street. So anyway, I ended up calling the police, and he was actually one of the sex offenders in the neighborhood. And I literally took the rest of the evening because the only thing I could think of is what if that baby had got in that car?
Mm-hmm.
What if I had not been behind him at that moment and that baby would have got in that car? We probably never would have heard. We would have heard about her, but not in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, and that had to be, and that was like the 90s something, y'all. But and I've always made sure that I pay attention to strange things. And one of the things Haley Cassani taught me when she was on my show, when I was still at the radio station and she came on, was something about being at a hotel and seeing older guys with younger girls.
Mm-hmm.
And you think like, oh, it's a and they always have some story about, oh, it's a cheerleader camp or it's whatever. And I remember thinking, how many times have we walked past things and didn't recognize what we were really looking at? How many times have we been at a shopping mall and seen a guy who we thought maybe was Pawpaw, but he really wasn't Pawpaw? You know, and the girls were really not there shopping. You know what I'm saying? This stuff that you don't see every day. So talk a little bit about that, because when she said that, I think I started shaking up the station because it made me think about how many times I have been out and I have seen situations where maybe it wasn't anything going on, but then again, maybe it was. So talk about some of the things that you know that both of y'all, because you, Sarah, you've seen some things too. So talk a little bit about, you know, what things can we look for to make sure that we stay safe and that we keep the girls around us safe.
Wanda, I'd just like to say that we need to, first of all, we need to always go with our gut.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? When you have that gut feeling that, you know, okay, something's not right here, always go with your gut. Like you interviewed with the young lady at the car, and you were safe in your car, you know, as well. But you know, you wrote down stuff. You wrote down, you knew what the car was, what kind it was, the color, and you wrote down the tag number and all that kind of stuff. But when something tells you that something is not right, and you need to call the police, then do that. Don't ever put yourself in harm's way. And if you have inconvenienced Pawpaw, okay, then Pawpaw has just been inconvenienced. Okay, whether Pawpaw be inconvenienced or Mama, because we have women as well, not just men. And I think we need to get away from that thinking too, because look at the case with the what's her name, the rich guy that they say killed himself. What was his name? Weinstein? What? No.
Epstein.
Yeah. And then you know he had the lady working for him, or with him, or whatever they were doing. So it's not just men, okay? It's women as well. And sometimes, you know, young teenage girls have to recruit other, you know, young girls. But to be aware, if you see something strange, you know, if you have to inconvenience somebody, like I was saying, then they just have to be, I'm so sorry that you were inconvenienced, but I had a feeling that something wasn't right. And I was going to do what I could do to protect this child or these children. Period. You know, better for them to be safe than not. And I think it's also important that we understand that some people, they pull up, they grab children, you know, off the street, they go to the park, you know, come and help me find my puppy, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the majority of victims, like we talked about earlier, live with their abusers. or they're traffickers.
Mhm.
So if you're a teacher, if there's a teacher listening, a principal, somebody that works at daycare, or somebody that is going to be at a summer camp, watch the behaviors. See what's going on with this child. Sit down and talk with them.
Mhm.
Just have a light talk and let them get comfortable. And if something was going on, it's a good chance that they'll tell you. That's, when we talk about sexual assault, we always want to think that it's that, real scary man that's jumping from behind the bushes and he's snatching somebody and, this, that, and the other. And for the majority of people, that's not the case.
True.
For the vast majority, they are in the homes with their abusers.
Mhm.
We know domestic violence has got some familial, pieces to it, but sexual assault, people are in the house with their abusers. Those who are being are victims of trafficking. Some of them's parents
Mhm.
are their pimps.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not just if you want a sandwich, then you have to do this sexual favor. But if you want 2 sandwiches, not only do you have to do me, but you got to do my friends too. Okay, so those are the kind of things we need to be watching for, those odd behaviors that we see in children.
Yep.
Yeah, Sarah, I feel like you took all the words out of my mouth. I was going to talk about the
I'm
guns,
sorry.
all of that. No, that was good. Because do you guys remember the Cleveland kidnapping case with Ariel Castro?
Yes.
And
Yes.
So I read all their books, the 3 girls, when they got rescued, and they all said how many times that they went on the porch, had a wig on, but waved to the neighbors, and they were there for a decade. And so it just goes to show you, so many times we do run into people that are victims, but we have no clue what to look for, or we have that gut feeling and think, oh, it's nothing. I'm not going to do anything about it. And honestly, what I tell everybody is, even if it's nothing, still make the call, because it could save somebody's life.
Mhm.
But I mean, you really did talk about it, that it's not, it could be, but it's not always that guy that's going to show up in the white van and snatch you off the street. I mean, there's 3 elements to trafficking, which is force, fraud, and coercion. And, everybody thinks the biggest one is force. They think of taken. And that's what everybody's idea of trafficking is. But it's always, usually more often, fraud, and it's a fake job, a promise of a better life. So that's where I was talking about earlier. For a red flag is if somebody's saying they got a modeling job and they're flying out to LA for free. That's something to raise some attention.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Yeah. And then coercion, which is what we see most often. It's if you loved me, you would do this. It's if you don't do it, then I'll go get your little sister to do it. I mean, trafficking is a trap of the mind. And so just some easy red flags, because everybody wants to know, what does a trafficking victim look like? And, media portrays it as the barcode and the handcuffs and the duct tape around the mouth. And, trafficking can look like somebody coming into the doctor's office and never making eye contact with anybody, where they're always up and staring down at the ground. They can't speak for themselves, can't answer for themselves. So if you're at the grocery store and you're the store clerk and you're checking them out and you ask her a question, or he, and somebody else is speaking for them, that's probably a big red flag to look out for. So it's not always going to be as apparent as, oh, where are their handcuffs and where's the chains? It's, where's their eye contact? Do they make, can they speak for themselves? Or do they have tattoos and brandings that a bunch of other girls do? So traffickers and pimps will often brand their victims, their group of girls. And so if the 3 of us are being trafficked and we all have the same tattoo and somebody sees that, that's a big thing to make notice of.
See, that's good education right there, because I didn't think that's another one of those things that I don't think that we probably think as much about. Now, I'm also one of those people that I watch the crime channel like way too much.
I think we're all the same person.
I do too.
I'm serious, y'all. If it has anything to do with crime, forensics, any of that, I am on it. I am a firm believer in law and order. I love forensic files. I watch cold case. You name a show, I probably watch it. Catch a killer, serial killer thing. Now, serial killer movies scare the crap out of me, but I watch them anyway because I'm trying to. I'm that person that want to know why you do it.
Right.
Get in your mind. Yeah, I want to know why you did it. So now,
I'm sorry, Wanda.
my problem is I watch it, but then I'll be scared half to death. Because now I'm scared they gonna come and get me. And I know they did, but I'm like, okay, wait a minute, hold on, I heard something. I hear noise and I'm paranoid. And my husband would be like, why do you keep watching stuff that's gonna make you paranoid? I'm like, well, you here? They'll get you first. I'm trying to pay attention to see how she gets. So, be honest with you, I'm honest to God watching to see how people got away.
Mm-hmm.
The last one I watched was not the one that you just talked about, Haley. Was the one where the guy in oh my God, I just watched this one the other night too. He killed 11 women, and they were buried in the house and in the backyard. He had raped at least 4 women, and they'd gotten away, but they were so terrified of the man they did not press charges. So, and
in Alaska?
No, not in Alaska. It was in. Was it Michigan? Oh my God! I just watched this one the other night. But a lot of the stuff that you're saying, he was picking up ladies that were on drugs, and that he looked at and said nobody would miss him.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
that
that's what.
true.
I mean, that's what Gary Ridgway did. The Green River
Yes.
Killer. That he would always go after the prostitutes and the ones that if they went missing, no one would notice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so traffickers certainly and abusers are going to target vulnerability.
Yeah,
It's exploitation of vulnerability, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was looking at. Cause I'm going. And I love, where you hate to see the families after the fact because the families going, well, this person was on the street, they were strung out on drugs, they were doing this, they were doing that, but they were still a person. They still had a family that loved them. They still had people that the community was crushed. I think at the end of that movie, they tore the house down.
Mm.
In my head, I'm going burn it down. I don't know why I thought fire might be better. But in my mind, I wanted them to burn the house down. Tearing it down wasn't good enough. It just needed to be burned because so much stuff had happened there and so much pain was there. I just felt like the fire would have taken it, just went another level. But again, that goes back to how we say, how safe are we? Those were all grown women. None of those women were kids, if I'm not mistaken. Every last one of them was 25 or older or somewhere around about. And again, as an adult woman, we tend to believe, oh, I'm safer than my kid is. When in the same situation, getting overpowered, whether you be drugged, coerced, beaten, however it is, it's still the same thing. We have to still consider the fact that when we're out and about, we need to still be paying attention to how people. I'm one of supposed to watch how other people move, and I try to make sure that don't walk up on me.
Right. Right.
Let's not do that. Let's not walk up on me because when you walk up on me, I'm automatically in my head thinking about how to hurt you. Because I'm trying to figure out if you're gonna try me first, before you get me. So it's again, that's me watching all these crime shows. Y'all, I told you it makes me paranoid. But at the same time, I think that's a good thing because it doesn't let you put your guard down in situations where, everybody think they're comfortable going to Walmart. You know how many stories I read about women getting abducted from Walmart at the parking lot? How many folks would come up missing from their job? Because you think, oh, I'm just walking to my car after work. No. Folks come up missing every day in all different kinds of ways, doing everyday normal stuff. Look how many women come up missing from the grocery store. You putting groceries in the car, the next thing you know, you gone. So there's always, and I hope anybody watching this, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but the whole thing is how aware are we of our surroundings, all the time? Are we paying attention to different things?
Right.
Well, have you guys heard of the different code levels, the colors?
Mm-mm.
So I was taught this in school, but it goes code white, yellow, red, and then black. And essentially the only time you should be in white is if you're asleep. That means your guard is down and you're not paying attention. And a lot of times people just walk around in daily life in code white. But what we should always be in is code yellow, where we're aware that something could happen, but we don't sense any danger. And I mean, it goes along, each code goes along with kind of where your heart rate is. And I know we don't have as much time, but then once you get up into red, danger is approaching you. You know, you're putting on your guard, you're ready to fight or flight. And then black is where you may be unconscious at that point, or you can't even process what's happening anymore. So it's just one of those things that all of us should always be in at least code yellow. And I know girls that have experienced rape and said that they woke up and somebody was on top of them and didn't understand why they didn't react or why they didn't fight back. And then once they heard the levels of codes, they said, oh, I was in code white. My body didn't even know how to respond. So they froze in that moment. It was fight, flight, or freeze. And because they were in that unconscious state, your body's not going to know how to react to that.
Right. And I think when you said that, what has popped in my mind, I think it's very important to mention for people who may be watching is that you need to do whatever it is that you need to do to survive. Okay. A lot of people will say, well, why didn't you fight? Or why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you do that? Or, people come up with all kind of stuff. And if you can fight and you're comfortable with your ability to try to protect yourself or to try to stop the situation, by all means, move forward with it. If you're not comfortable with it, you feel you may be killed or whatever in any type of situation, it is okay for you to do what you feel like you have to do to survive that situation. It's fight, flight, or freeze, whatever it is. So that's, people think, well, oh, you wasn't really right because you didn't fight.
Well, I think I must be orange all the time. I'm between yellow and red. I must be floating orange.
I think there is an orange, and I just failed to mention it. So there you go.
My brain is always okay, what y'all doing over there? Wait a minute, too many people moving over here. And it's this one movie, we don't have that much time left, but it's this movie, and I cannot remember the dude's name. But, it's 50 Cent guy trying to get rich, whatever he said he did. And dude is sitting in the back seat behind him, and he kept telling dude, stop moving. I don't like a lot of folks behind me.
I don't either.
It's different stuff that clicks in my head. If I see somebody out jogging and they have on headphones, that drives me crazy.
Yeah, you can't hear anybody coming up on you.
Coming up on you. Why? And it's usually some woman. And I'm going, girl, take the doggone headphones off. You can't hear nobody coming up on you. I don't even want to see a man running with headphones on. That is just crazy to me. Period. Just don't walk around with headphones on.
Yeah.
I see people doing it in the store. I see them you out in the parking lot. You can't hear cars coming. You can't hear a person walking up on you.
Yeah. And on those phones with the earbuds and you talking on the phone, you're not aware of what's happening around you. Somebody, come up and that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
or people leave the store and go sit in their car and text forever, just completely off guard.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna say this. I'm guilty of that one because I've done it before, but I haven't done it in a long time, and I stopped doing it because of something that didn't happen to me, but something I, saw. So I was like, okay, get in your car, go home. Don't sit in the parking lot. Sometimes the parking lot can be interesting, and there's a lot of things that happen in the parking lot. But yeah, that's not a safe thing to do. Put your stuff in the car, get in the car, lock your doors, and go. Because one of the quickest ways for you to come up missing, as old folks say, is to be sitting somewhere you ain't got no business sitting. You have to always look at somebody is always watching you.
Yeah.
there's somebody always, I don't care where you are, somebody is always paying attention to what you're doing, even if you're not. So, y'all, we have a couple of seconds left. If you will, just give like one quick tip that you can think of would be like the top thing that you would tell any woman right now. Oh, and then we're gonna go because I hadn't had dinner yet, Sarah. So
Is that your dinner alarm?
I got
And one thing I say is
I have a time for everything.
one thing I say is to always, like we've talked about, be aware of your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a domestic violence situation, Google safety plans. There are a million safety plans out there so that you can plan to stay safe in the relationship, as safe as possible, or plan to stay safe as possible when you leave the relationship. Women are at a 70 to 80% higher chance of being killed or seriously injured when they are leaving or shortly after they have left a relationship.
Okay. All right, Haley.
Well, we kind of already said it, but I would always say, trust your gut, report it if something feels off, and then know who's in your circle, because we've talked about this before, but it's always more likely to be the people that you know. So be nosy, and just because you know them doesn't mean that they're a safe person. So check out who's in your inner circle.
That is true. Well, ladies, thank you all so much for the conversation. I appreciate it. I have enjoyed. I told y'all that hour goes really fast. It'll take time once you start talking about something. But thank you all for the information. I hope that whoever is watching, that we've talked about something that'll give you a pause for the cause, that you pay attention to your surroundings, that you get help if you need it, that above all, that you be safe and do what you have to do to survive. So take care of yourself. We'll be back next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. I'll have some more awesome guests. We'll talk about another awesome topic. And remember, this is Women's History Month. So when you see women, don't shake their hand. Remember what I told you. High five us from a distance. Say, you go, girl. Congratulate somebody. But thank the women that you know, especially ones in your family that have done amazing things. Thank your mama. It's Mama History Month too. Thank your mama, honey. If you still got it, if you still got it, if she'll let you, you can hug her. But thank her and just thank her for everything that she's done, and thank the women in your lives and tell them that you appreciate everything they're doing. So we will see you again next Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. right here in the Ladies Lounge. I'm Wanda Lowe. If my guests will stick around for a photo, I'll let the rest of you all go, and y'all have a wonderful night, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.